Hello and welcome, folks, to today's edition of Moose on the Loose podcast. I am joined by another queen, possibly not quite as dramatic, but Davina Devine.
Davina Devine today. I'm probably the only guest having a little glass of Chardonnay, but sure, listen, it's Thirsty Thursday. What can I say?
Is that Lidl's best?
It is not, excuse me.
Okay.
I got it in PR.
All right, okay.
It's not Kylie wine, so everyone is safe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
How have you been?
I've been really good. I'm a little tender today. I went out to see my friend Joanne McNally's show last night, and the two of us kind of hit the town a little bit. So I'm a little tender today, but I feel like very relaxed. I feel like you probably get the good juice out of me today.
Fabulous. Well, look, I'll go easy on you, Davina. I'll go
listen.
easy. So we go back a bit.
Yeah, long time. Yeah.
What are your earliest memories of me?
The very first time that I met you was, I actually remember it instinctively. You were actually, I think, out with my friend Peaches and a gang of them. Do you know Peaches Queen? Mm-hmm. Luke. Mm. And you were in the George and you were like melody drunk, and you came up kind of from behind. You were like, we're going to a party, and I was like, who is this mad? But I think we ended up going to the party.
You felt sorry for me probably, did you?
No, I didn't. I was like, yeah, he's a bit crack. No, I was into it. Yeah.
Well, that would have been every time I went into the George. We're talking probably about 10 years ago or so, are we?
God, probably even more.
Yeah.
Probably even more. Like everything's a bit of a blur, so don't ask me to put dates on things.
Yeah.
I have to be carbon dated myself. I don't really remember much.
But that sounds like me like in my 20s.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like me in my 30s and 40s.
And we used to go to after parties and
Yes.
stuff together.
Yeah.
And
That's all kind of, this whole scene has kind of died off, the old after parties.
Has it?
Yeah. It's like, it's still kind of happening. I think the way people socialise is just so different now.
yeah.
Whereas people kind of used to, COVID really changed everything. But all those after parties and stuff, like the cops would close them. I went to every single illegal after party in this city probably. I had a great time.
I remember there was a great one on South William Street.
Oh yeah, there was, which one? There was a few.
There's a few of us there, yeah. But you were locked in.
Yeah. Oh,
You weren't allowed
they were
out.
actual death traps.
Yeah.
Like proper. I remember being in one around the back of Dominic Street Flats. This
Right.
is very glamorous now. And I always, my MO in a after party was find the corner and find the exit. That was like, so I'd always be like in a place where I can see everything. No one's come behind you. No one's going to do a wig snatch. And you can always get out if you need to. And I always remember being in there and the guards raided and they were like, you know, because it was selling booze and everything. Not to mention God knows what else was going on. And there was like an old wicker chair, like blocking a fire exit. I was like, me and Shirley Temple Bar, I pushed the chair out of the way. I was like, come on, boot the fire exit open. We were running through Dominic Street Flats in full drag about like 5 a.m. Those were the days.
Those were the
Yeah.
days. You mentioned a wig snatch. Does that happen a lot?
You wouldn't get this off now.
No,
I'd get your hair off quicker than you'd get this off.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you arrived here in a taxi. So these
Yeah.
are just little things that.
Yeah.
So have you ever gotten into a taxi and had a driver kind of look twice at you, or any
Just usually with
stories?
lust.
No, absolutely. I wouldn't.
Not really. Like there's the only one time ever, and this is like, you know, I'm doing drag like, God, it's 20 plus years. The only one time was actually in Belfast. We ordered, because you know in Belfast, I don't think they even have free now. They have like, you have to call up the minicab company. They still have that, which is bizarre. It's like, what's it, 1982? And the cab pulled up and I was walking out to the cab and the cab just drove off.
Jesus Christ.
And I actually just laughed because I just thought, fair enough. I was like, actually, he's like, you know, about wee Belfast man probably going, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So so that was, well, no, normally people are like totally sound.
Yeah.
Like I like a quiet taxi drive.
Yeah.
So I'm
do
very
I.
good at small talk.
Yeah. You are good.
Very good.
Were you busy today? That kind of stuff.
Are you going anywhere? Will you be working late now tonight? What do you do days? Do you do nights? You name it. I could go all day.
Yeah. And tell me, so you're doing drag 20 years now?
Yeah, 20 plus years. Yeah, I started in like 2002, so 22 years.
So when and how was Davina Devine born?
It was just for a laugh. It just started as a joke. It really did. Still, actually, it's a bit of a joke. 22 years on. A friend of mine was running a group in the West, actually, out your way, out West. It's called.
All
Do
right,
you know
I
Out
heard
West?
of it. Heard of it. Yeah.
Would you not touch base now with them out your
You
way?
never know. I might now when I go back. Yeah.
They used to have discos, you know, the odd disco
disco
ones.
in the
They still have
shed,
their socials, and they kind of were just doing, like, they just lash on a DJ, and this is like back in the early 90s, and they kind of nothing was happening, and there was a bit of drag going on in Dublin. They just said to me and my friend, they were like, would you do something for the laugh? Just like, it was very low expectations. And I said, yeah, me and my friend kind of start rehearsing, getting something together, but then it kind of got a bit serious. We were like, right now, it has to be good. you know, because we were like, it started off just kind of dodgy wigs. And then I was like, no, we need to up the ante here. And I just really enjoyed performing and kind of putting something like that together. And when I did the gig, like, it was actually like, you know, when I look back now, thank God there's no social media, because like I have all the photos, I have all the content like locked in the vault, and it people just loved it. So I got a good response, and then people were asking me would I go and do other things, and it just literally started as just a bit of crack, and it still is a bit of crack.
When I first saw you, whatever, maybe 15, 20 years ago, like I said, there's Mariah Carey. Does anybody ever tell you that?
Mariah's scary. I get that all the time. I get Mariah Carey, I get Lady Gaga. I used to get Leona Lewis when I was lashing on extra tan. Like, so yeah, like, listen, I think people see certain things. I think, like, I'm all just lips and lashes and like and a curly blow dry. That's about it, you know. But that's my staple look. And I know with the guy who did Mariah's hair, and he said like she has like a drag as well. So like she has 3 looks that she alternates between. Like that is her drag, and she gets into it, and she wears the wigs and everything. So it's the same kind of thing, without the voice and talent and money, you know,
that you have. So tell me, what age were you? So just give me a bit of background on Davina.
Yes.
So, where were you born? You know,
I'm a Ringsend Rose.
Okay.
Yes, Forest Protocol, the Ringsend. Yeah, you can't come into Dublin now without passing through Ringsend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm like, I grew up there, and I never in a million years thought I would be doing drag, or it was on the cards. Didn't even really know what drag was. I knew I always, like, when I was a kid, I was always in like an extra in movies, and I performed with Michael Jackson, and I had all these little weird moments that happened just kind of always by chance. Like nothing, I was too poor to go to the Billy Barrys, but I would always wanted to like tap. I always wanted to tap dance.
Yeah,
that was rage. And the one regret I have in my life is that I couldn't go to tap dancing classes. But yeah, so I think then when you get to a teenager and you're kind of like, I'm too ugly to be in a boy band. I have no real actual defining like Mariah Carey talent that's going to, you know, put me through to the next round. So I just thought like, what am I going to do? And then I went to the George one night and I saw drag, and I was like, oh my God, this is actually amazing. It's just, I'd never seen that before. So it was very interesting. And yeah, that's kind of how that progression just happened, you know?
So what age would you have been at that time?
I was like 19.
If you don't mind me asking. Yeah, okay.
I was 19. I'm okay about the age.
Yeah, so
I'm like aging like a fine wine.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were in school, like, do you reckon you were born gay?
Yes. Yeah. Do you know what? I find gay is a very, I'm really not into labels or anything like that, but I just find that kind of term just, I don't know if it's like dated, or I never knew I was gay till I was probably about 16 or 17. I just knew I was like different. And I'm not being like pedantic about that. That's just kind of expressing how I felt.
Yeah.
I just felt like I just wasn't like other people.
Yeah.
Ever since I was like a kid, I was just always like an old soul. But it wasn't so much that I was like, I'm gay. Anyway, it was just, I just knew I was other.
Would you have gone to an all boys school or a mixed
school?
School?
Okay. Yeah. And I wasn't like really badly bullied, or, you know, I'm from Dublin 4, so it was like, you know, it's all pretty, you know, it's not, I had a good experience. Like, it wasn't bad. And yet, you know, you hear some horror stories, and that really affects people for their whole life. I was always the person, I think I came out of the womb like just marching to the beat my own drum. Right. And I always felt like, even when I was a kid, I was felt like an old person. I was just like, I just always did what I wanted. Even when I was a kid, I didn't have a bedtime. But I wasn't taking the piss. I was just like, I'm not doing that. I'm doing this. So it was always like that, as far as I can remember. It was always very adult.
And can you remember when you came out? Can you?
Oh my God, can I what? Yeah, because as I said, it was a bit of a like late like realization for me. Because I think that's because I always knew I was different, but then I think when, you know, you're a teenager and your hormones are going, and sexuality, I think, then kind of kicks in. So you're kind of like, oh, I like dick. Like that realization hits in, and that kind of, that was a bit of a. I felt like I was a bit surprised by that. I was kind of like, oh, okay, and then of course, then kind of back. God, this would have been like what? Let me see, like. I was going to say turn of the millennium. Would have been around. That actually is like, that's the proper term. But you know, back then there was very little kind of outlets for people then, like to meet other people, and I obviously wasn't of age to go out to clubs, and there was like the internet. This sounds actually, when I talk about it, the internet was like a newish kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, and there was things like gaydar, I suppose, and people used to do ads in like newspapers to meet up with people. This is you look at you, no, like, no way. As if what are you, like 14?
Really?
So I, being a little, like, cheeky kid or whatever, I remember having one of these ads and like meeting like people from these ads, but it was more just to connect with like queer people.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't going looking for my bit. It was actually just, I wanted to meet other people.
Meet like-minded people.
Yeah. And that was very hard to kind of label or to
How would
explain.
you meet would they have their mobile number or something in the
No,
ad,
so
or?
this is so hilarious. So you used to have to, like, there was like a 1580 number. So you'd basically put an ad up and then you'd have to call to like get your voice notes. And you'd have these like voice notes. You'd be like, "Hi, I'm Brian, I'm 29, I work in IT." And you'd be like, yeah, he sounds nice. Do you know? And then, like, because I was just looking for, like, I was like, my ad was for like 18-year-old looking for friends. And it was really just to meet other gay people.
Yeah.
And I did actually meet some really very interesting people from that. But one of the people that I did meet was this guy who I actually got into a relationship with, and that was, I was like 17 and he was a little bit older, so he was like 27. And I was like an older man now, I have to say. And so we ended up kind of getting into this really intense thing, really. And I think because it was masked in secrecy, and he was like, he knew me explicitly, so he knew everything. And we got into this big, you know, in gay terms as well, like, you know, I think we were together for like just under a year. Felt like about 10 years, you know, felt like it was like, wow. But it turned really toxic after a while because he was older. I was kind of, you know, finding myself, and kind of, I was still, like, when I look back now, I was a kid, like, do you know what I mean? And a 17-year-old then is different to a 17-year-old now, even, you know, even in that short time. So I was probably a bit naive, I suppose. And we basically got into this really heavy kind of relationship, and I eventually then wanted to call it, because I was like, this is too much, because I was actually turning 18 and he was going to buy me a car for my birthday, for my 18th birthday. I couldn't even drive. So I was like, and I knew, I was like, fuck, if I get this car, I'm going to be stuck in this, and this is not where I want this to go. I felt very trapped. I was only like a kid and nobody knew, so couldn't talk to anyone about it. And
so it was like a you wouldn't go out in public and stuff, would you? Or you
well, we would, yeah, but like, but it was, no, everyone just thought we were like friends, you know. It wasn't like, you know, we were snogging, you know,
holding
on
hands
the O'Connell Bridge, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was all very cute, and it was hard to explain to my family, and the lies you tell, like, when you look back now, I'm like, who the hell believed those lies? Like, but you just, it's that fear of kind of.
What were you scared? Was it the age gap, or was it the fact that you were gay?
Yeah, I think that was gay. It was like, there was so much shame, I think, in it, and you were kind of like, you kind of feel like everyone. I remember feeling like I thought everyone was going to turn on me and kind of like you reject you, and because it also, like, I know it's only kind of like 20 years ago, but things were very different then as well.
100%.
So not like, you know, it was still not that bad, but it's always worse in your head. Everything is always worse, and you know, whether you're, you know, it's battling with an addiction, or whether you're coming out, or anything you're holding in is always worse, I think, on the inside. I think when you kind of say it, it's like, it's such a release to just kind of get it off. But when I was with that guy, I just said, I have to get out of here. And then things turned really nasty. And I wanted to kind of just part amicably, but he basically kind of held a bombshell over me that if I left, that he'd tell everyone about me being gay, which was like really traumatic. At 17, I was like, oh my God. I was like, when I think back now, I kind of talk about it like it was like someone else's life, because it feels like so far away, and I'm so far removed from that person. But I will never forget the feeling of like being exposed, you know, that kind of like, it was like blackmail, but also being blackmailed by someone that you trust.
He was holding you hostage in your own head.
About my own life.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I eventually did have to tell someone, because I think, you know, and I think it's always important to talk to people, whatever you're feeling like that, you have to tell someone you trust. And this girl friend that I had, she basically was like, you need to get away from him right now. And we were kind of semi-living together, so it was very intense. So I went, like, in the middle of the night, packed all my stuff. It was very like Tina Turner, like, out the door. And he basically said, if you don't come back, I'm going to tell your family. So I called his bluff. Long story short, he did come to my house, and he did tell he basically outed me to my mother. Like, it was full blown EastEnders moment. It was very bad. But I she knew something was up because he had come to the house a couple of times. She's like, who is this person? And I said, oh, he's a friend. And she was like, is he gay? And I said, yeah, I think so. And she's like, are you gay? And I said, yeah, I think so. And she's like, what's going on here? She was so cool. Like and that instant kind of like, oh, where's the fireworks? Where's the drama?
Yeah.
Never came. So she was just like, what's going on here? And then so I kind of came out.
That was a relief to you.
Such a relief. Like it was just like a weight lifted off your shoulders. And then I said, listen, you can come back. She knows everything's, but he came back because I think he just wanted to like, I was leaving him, so I think he wanted to hurt me in some way. So he did come back and he insisted on talking to my mother at the door, which was at 17. You don't
Did you answer the door to him?
Yeah. And I said, well, she knows now. Here you go. And he's like, please don't leave it. Then he starts carrying on and like got very emotional. So my mother came to the door. I'll never forget it. And I just fucking lost it. I was like, you fuck. I lost it. And my mother said to me, she's like, I never raised you to speak to anyone. She gave out to me. I'm like, this man is here trying to like overturn my life. Yeah. And it's so Irish.
Yeah.
She's like, have some manners. So I was just, that kind of made me laugh in hindsight. And she was so calm. She said, listen, whatever's been going on between the two of you, you're a little bit older. You should have a little bit more sense. My marriage broke up. This is obviously, just the way things go, and move on with your life. And and that was it. And it was, do you know what though? It was really, really traumatic at the time. Really it really affected me, I think, going forward for a long time. But I did actually see him afterwards, and we kind of do talk, not regularly, but I don't hold animosity because it had to happen some way. It just was a really dramatic way for it to happen.
So this fella is still around?
He's still around, yeah. Like I haven't seen him in a long time, but I ran into him one night actually in the George, and I think he finds it hard to forgive himself for what happened, but there's no animosity. It's like it was all in the past. He was in a different place, I was a different place. It was a really intense situation. I can kind of look back on it now and kind of it really made me who I am, and I hope he got something out of it as well. Like, I don't actually wish, because people go, oh, you can wish badness on people, but there's no point. No. You can't live like that. That's your journey that you're on anyway. I just hope, I always wanted everything to be amicable. So I'm sorry that it had to end like that.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Join us after the break. So you asked me, so I told you.
No, I didn't know. Like,
there you go.
Do people know about that?
Well, like I don't go around talking about it like, oh, but it's not like a secret.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's as I said, it does feel like a million years ago, and it feels like a different life. But it's like, I think for anyone that's struggling with their sexuality, or you become so insular, everything becomes. Like, I can't imagine what that must feel like now. It's like, I'm sitting here with a glass of wine dressed in drag, do you know what I mean? Like, whereas before I was like, afraid to, like, have an eyebrow ring, or, like, do things that, like, were seen to be gay.
Yeah. You're free.
Free, yeah. And it's very, very, like, being free is very powerful.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
But back to those mouldy nights in the George. Like, why was I mouldy? Because I was, like,
You were great crack, though.
Was I?
Yeah, well, I thought so.
Well, I like, back in those days, I wouldn't have had the strength to go into the George unless I was mouldy.
Yeah, but I think that's very common a lot. I don't see
that
this
day?
I don't see it as much now. It's only when you say that now. I don't see it as much now. Yeah. But I definitely there's so many people that you see people like locked outside doing laps up and down. And it's kind of sad.
Up and down the lane.
Yeah.
On their own.
On their own, yeah. I remember years ago, I was an admin for the George Facebook page, and I remember it was like Friday night or something. I don't know why I was at home, and I got this mail came in. Oh no, it was somebody commenting on loads of the photos, and they were saying real homophobic stuff. And I was like, who's this fucker? So I messaged him. I was like, could you stop?
Yeah.
I was like, Facebook, please. And I don't know how it happened, but we ended up kind of talking. He was like, I'm really sorry, because he was using his friend's Facebook page to spam the George. Turns out he was this really closeted person, really struggling, and I only saw him a couple of weeks ago. He's now out gay, and he's like living in America, and he was really struggling. But I think he always says, he's like, if I hadn't have trolled the George that night, we wouldn't have connected and spoke, and we kind of became friends in a weird way. I know that sounds mental, but it was just bizarre.
But why was he trolling the George?
Because he was just so full of hate, and he was just like, didn't know how to kind of channel it. You know, it's just like this kind of weird frustration but I think it's always the ones that are, you know, the loudest that kind of have something to say. It's like most people just get on with their own life. People don't care. But it's like if you have an issue or there's something niggling at you that you have to verbalize or say something or put someone else down, I just feel, what's going on with you? You know?
Agreed.
Everyone's a mirror.
100%. And just on that, so you're a very bubbly, beautiful, what other B can we use?
Literally.
And I've a lot of time for you, and you'd be by far my favourite queen in the scene.
Can we get that again?
But tell me, Davina, is there a big difference between the two of you?
No, I'm the same person. It's like I always say, it's described to people. It's like just different packaging. You know, it's like I can say that because I'm inside the juggernaut, whereas other people will be like, oh no, you're like two different people. They can see it, but it's natural to me. I always feel like I'm always authentic. It's just a different. Obviously, when you're in drag, it's like a bit more, you know, theatrical and a bit more. Whereas I think normally I'm just more cash and more kind of like I don't have to sit like this, and you know, it's like it's more relaxed. But it's the same person. You get the same story. You get the same vibe. You know,
but it allows you to be a bit more bold, or it allows you to say stuff that you wouldn't get away with necessarily.
Spicy.
I know Panty would always say that. She can say stuff.
Oh God, yeah. There's stuff like I think drag queens get away with murder. But one thing I think that I've learned in my time is that like I am very opinionated and I have got things, and I feel like sometimes because you're a drag queen, it's like sometimes people think your opinion doesn't count, or like you're like a joke, or a kind of like, oh, she's just like a man and woman's clothes, and so like you're like laughable. And it's actually like, well, regardless of what someone is presenting, like it's actually like I still have a brain, I still have a mouth, I still have a voice. And that,
but you're an artist, I would say.
Of course, yeah. Like what I've totally created like a total persona, a completely like. I think what's different towards me and like other queens is like that. Like I don't expose myself at all. I keep myself very separate, and I do that on purpose because it gives me boundaries, makes me feel. It's like Clark Kent kind of vibe, or Bruce Wayne Batman vibe. I can step into it and step out of it. Like people always think they're like, oh, what you look like out of drag, and I'm like, it's really not that big a mystery.
We've met once or twice out of drag, haven't we?
Of course, yeah. Like, there's no big mystery, people. It's just like, this is what I'm giving you. So take it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
What difficult question, perhaps. Yeah. What is a drag queen?
Oh, here we go. A drag queen is, I always feel like there's a drag queen for everyone. It's like, there's all kinds of drag queens. And like, obviously my drag is very kind of femme and very kind of glam, and that's my drag. But there's like hairy queens, there's big queens, there's bio queens, which are like women that dresses in drag. And drag is just dress up. So it's like, it can be what you want it to be. There is no, that's what I like. Drag has always been about kind of being subversive, being a bit gender pushing, and a bit kind of, you know, fucking with the norm as such. That's what I think it's like. I always feel like sometimes I can walk into a room and every person in that room will have a different reaction to me being there. Some people are like, wow, a drag queen. Other people are like, oh. Like, it's so funny.
You polarize.
Polarize. And everybody has a different reaction to it. What I find fascinating. Psychologically, I get really into it. And then you could go real heavy. And then you're like, oh my God, where am I? But yeah, I find it very interesting how being in drag sometimes can really have a different effect on people. And I find that bizarre because it's not about me. It's actually about them. So me just being present can create a vibe, and I could be just sitting here doing nothing, just that kind of way. But it's like bizarre.
Do you ever wish you were born in the States?
No.
Do you know why I mean that?
Why?
Because I was in a gay bar in San Diego a couple of years ago, and there were queens performing, and like, you know about the money thing,
the tips.
Fucking hell, like it's massive tips they come out with.
Listen,
night.
I don't work for tips.
I work for
real money. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a waitress.
Okay. Oh, so did they not get a wage as well as what they're getting?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be like we're like over this side of the pond, we're so much more, I think, respected and kind of like, I believe if you're going into a bar and putting a show together and you're doing an act, you deserve to be paid. Like, obviously for what you're putting into, whereas it's just a different culture over there. Okay. Like it's always been about that. Like fair play to them, and I think Drag Race is great for American queens because it gives them so much exposure. like, but no one does it like the Irish. Like, and now, like, the English kind of are kind of moving to like, we've been doing this kind of drag in Ireland for a long time, but English queens in particular, like, I remember doing gigs in Gran Canaria before, and all the queens were very like live singing, and they kind of look down on lip sync queens, they kind of look down on glam queens, and they're all like, it was very end of the pier. That was the English style of drag, whereas now it's evolving, it's changing. So I would much rather be over this side of the pond. Yeah. And I would never want to be born in America.
Ditto. You pour yourself a glass
Davina
of wine. Davina Devine, yeah, is right.
I won't get this.
Have you any love interests at the moment?
I have several.
Right, okay.
They're interested in me, but I'm not interested in them.
Okay.
I know, I'm only joking. No, it's no, to be honest, like, I don't really have time for that. I really don't. And I would say, and I know people say that all the time, but I would find it very hard. Like, anytime I've been in a relationship in the past, I always feel like I'd be more concerned. Like, it's very hard going out with someone, I think, that does what I do. It's very hard, because you're kind of like, people want to be around you. That when you're finished shows, they want photographs. You're kind of you kind of can sometimes get left in the back. And I hate seeing someone like that. Even sometimes, like, my friends come out with me and we're getting photos and we're hanging around, I feel I'm more aware, like, are you okay? I don't want anyone to ever feel like they're left out. And then you kind of end up dimming yourself down for someone else. You're kind of more on edge about what is going on for them. Yeah. So that always made me feel uneasy. I definitely feel like I shine brighter when I'm on my own. And I just don't have that worry. And also, I'm just one of those people, I just never crave that. I just like, I know that sounds like, I don't get lonely. I don't go, oh, like, it kind of, if dare I say it, kind of repulses me to be like, putting on the tea and like, well, it just sounds very mundane to me. Like,
you're only given one chance at life.
Yeah,
and,
I want to live it, and never say never. And I feel like if something happens, it happens. I'm totally open to whatever, but I'm not going out going. I feel like it would do me a disservice at this point, and it wouldn't be fair on someone. Like, I'm a nutcase.
Well, meet your brother. But
I'm two people. Like, imagine going out with two people. It's bad enough being with one fucking nutcase, but two.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And tell me, no, you don't have to tell me numbers or anything, but like, is it a well-paid gig?
Well, it's my full-time job for like, many years now, and it's like. And what I love about it, it's not, it's never about the money. I'm not a motivated by money person. You could offer me X amount to do anything, and I'm like, if I don't want to do something, I just won't do it. And I really like that about myself. It's like, it doesn't. I do this because I love it. And I think people say, oh, well, like, what's the shelf life, And I'm like, Mr. Pussy is kicking around a lot. Mr. Pussy was Ireland's first drag queen, came here in 1969, still kicking around, still iconic. And I'm like, there is no shelf life. That's society telling you, hang up the heels. Do you know what I mean? So,
Alan, isn't it?
Alan, obviously, he's amazing. He'd be actually a great guest to get in.
And he was, I remember him from nights.
Iconic. Like, absolutely does not get the credit that he deserves. Like, he is he's a trailblazer of this. And like, whether it's like culturally, society, unreal.
Yeah.
But so it's, you can earn a good, but like, not everyone. I think people now think drag is like, you're going to walk into a career and you'll be flush, and it's like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So people don't see that as well,
I think I might try it sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would I be a good drag queen?
What do you think? You're a good performer though.
I am.
Yeah. See, so I think you could probably get away, because a lot of queens look fab but are terrible performers.
Right.
Whereas you probably look like a bag of spuds, but you'd be a great performer.
Well, thank you very much.
What would your drag name be?
Maybe we'll come up with it during this podcast. But have you ever fallen on stage, or have any stories about?
Paul, absolutely everything has happened. You name it, it's happened. Like, I've fallen, broken. Like, I've never broken a bone, thank God, touch wood. But like, I remember I fell, broke two of my shoes, fell down a flight of stairs in front of everyone. Electric Picnic, I was on the stage, I was like a catwalk, and the spotlight was so bright, I was just giving it loads, and I just stepped to the side, but there was no stage. All I remember was just feeling the grass on my hands, and I was like, I just blacked out for like a total second. They were like, oh my God, she's gone, but I couldn't see a fucking thing. Like, the light was so bright, I was like, that's a death trap. But like, you name it, it's happened. But like, I'd be kind of silly like that. I think those.
You just brush it off.
Yeah, it's like, what can you do? You just have to get up. Yeah. Like, I think anyone that, like, I don't know anyone that would just stay down. So some people love the drama, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh, I've hurt myself. Oh.
Yeah. I'm just remembering Madonna. she fell. Several,
Yes.
What was it? Was
the
it
Brits.
Yeah.
With the cape.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Actually, after that, I remember we were performing that song at the George and I actually just threw myself down the stairs. So I literally, people were like, oh my God.
Brilliant.
Because Miz always said that to me. She's like, do you remember you threw yourself down the stairs at the time? I was like, I actually really hurt myself. But I was like, oh yeah, fine. I was like,
Jesus. And tell us,
It's
what would your career highlight be? Would it be Joanne and
I think it was
Vogue?
probably doing the Tree Arena just in December. I think that was like, I always wanted to do the Tree Arena. It was just like, it's always been the point and just such a big venue. And I remember, it was actually this time last year, I was driving past and I was looking, I was like, I'd love to do something there. That'd be fab. And then I was going like, what would you do? And I got an email about there was a live podcast. I won't say which one it is, but there was a live podcast happening and this about maybe March last year. And they asked me, would I do something as part of their show? And I said, oh my God, that was so weird because I just thought it. And I said, yeah. And about 2 days before, they were like, we've actually cut that section of the show, so it's not going to happen. So I was fuming. And then 2 months later, I got in with Joanne and Vogue. And so I do feel like in the universe somewhere, it came to me.
So were you? How
I
did you fit into
manifested.
their? How did you kind of fit into their show? Was it like a interval act or something?
It was like, when a new member of Sugar Babes comes in.
Oh, right, okay,
It was like, that's what they said. They were like, it just fits. So we just were like, when the stars aligned and we were like, they were like, it feels like you've been here forever. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm here now. It's like, no getting rid of me. But it was an amazing experience. And it's like, they're such good girls and great crack and so laid back. Like they're kind of like, they be telling me like, can we change this? I'm like, yeah, I'm really easy going like that. So it's nice working with people that everything is easy going and there's no drama. And I kept waiting for one bad show. I was like, it never happened. They were just it was amazing.
Because that was a few nights in a row, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we did like the Apollo in London, we did the Gaiety, we did the Marquee in Cork, we did the Tree Arena. I think it was like 16, 18 gigs in total, and it was amazing. I was so depressed when it ended, but
heavy going.
Actually, listen. Well, one time I did a corporate gig, then I did the Tree Arena, and then I went and did my show. That was all in one day.
Wow.
So it was like, I was pretty
burning
rough.
the candle at both ends.
Actually, listen, that's what it's there for.
Exactly.
Yeah, how do you think I'm going to keep the lights on?
Yeah, but you go on holidays and
I don't go on holidays. That's the thing. I haven't.
not?
No, I don't. I'm addicted to work. I just can't
Really?
stop. I can't stop. And I keep saying, I must stop. Like, taking it easy for me is doing 2 nights a week. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, literally, I just can't. I find it really hard to stay still. But I think I was talking to Joanne about it last night. I was saying, I feel like maybe it's like I'm so invested in my work and I love it so much. I feel like if I hadn't got my job, what else would I be doing? What would I fill my time with? And because I'm so kind of all encapsulated in it, and I'm aware of it. I'm not like in denial about it. So I just find it interesting. But I also love what I do. So it's not like I'm a slave to the grind,
I haven't been in the George in God knows how long.
But you're barred.
I'm still barred. I was barred.
I was.
Do you remember when I was barred?
No. What did you do?
Barred.
Why were you barred?
Oh, I don't know. I literally can't remember most nights in there.
So many people over the years have been barred. I'm barred. Can't go to the George. I'm barred. And then they'd be back a couple of weeks
and then
later.
I'd go into Bridie's.
Yeah.
And then try and kind of sneak up. Well, it depends on who was on. The Dawn was always very welcoming.
People would always wait for bouncers. Is he still working there? And they'd be like, no, he's left. They're straight in. They'd be like, new manager, just straight in.
Yeah. But I was genuinely barred from the George at one point. But I don't know what it's like these days. But like, is homophobia still a big thing in the scene at the moment?
Like, it's not so much on the scene because I feel like the scene is very kind of welcoming. Like, what I do notice about the scene now compared to kind of probably when we were like coming out is that it's much more diverse now. So there's a lot more kind of like, it's not so much heavily like LGBT. There's a lot of like straight girls that come, and it's very mixed now because I think the George has become, also a big part of it is a lot of nightclubs have closed down. So there's not many good night spots to go to.
Yeah. Do you remember the Dragon?
Yeah. Oh my God, we always have an ongoing joke about, you missed the Dragon, wouldn't you? It's like, well, you never went. That's why it closed down. So it's like, actually, you can miss it all you want.
But you performed there a lot, didn't you?
Oh God, yeah. Do you remember the drag queen fell off the stage? Google YouTube that drag queen falls off stage in Dragon. It's Shannon O'Hara was her name. Iconic.
And the stage in the Dragon, by the way, isn't kind of only a couple of feet
it's
off
like
the
a
ground.
scaffold about like 20 feet up. She fell on top of
Is she
it.
okay?
She got up and she
Went back up again.
she's still alive. She's lived to tell the tale. But she landed on top of another drag queen.
And that's on YouTube, is it?
It's on YouTube, yeah. It's Shannon O'Hara at the Dragon, so check it out. It's got like thousands of views. God love her. You'll never hear Britney Spears Circus in the same light ever again. Are you making much money from the sauna?
A bit.
Is that your like Ackle version of the boiler?
Well,
I've seen some of the lads you had in that sauna.
do you want to talk about the boiler?
If you want, yeah.
What's the boiler?
So Boiler House is a health club that gentlemen frequent. Now, the Boiler House is a bit of an institution as well. Like, I don't know if people will know this, but obviously in gay culture, there's like the bathhouse vibe, which has been around since Roman times. But there was always like I think Grindr has damaged that vibe a lot. The Boiler House is basically it's like a sauna basically where people go and they can frequent a jacuzzi and maybe have a sauna.
That's not where I got the idea.
Yeah. Well, I say what I see. Yeah, but a lot of them have closed down, and that was a very kind of cultural time, and
But Grindr has replaced it pretty much.
Well, you don't have to leave your house. You know, you can hook up with people, and it's also that's affected gay bars as well, because people would go out to meet people.
Has it? Yeah.
Yeah, and then like you can sit at home and you can chat to someone on Grindr. You don't have to go out and
And they'll be
have
there
a few
in 15
Coors
minutes.
Light. Yeah, exactly. And then, but it's also kind of stopped people, I think, from engaging with other people. So it's kind of, I don't know if it's all good. Like, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's a good thing.
Coming out is a big deal in people's lives.
And do you know what I always think as well? I always think about people coming out of Pride. Like people, every Pride you get these people. Why do you need Pride? Why is like, oh, you gays, having this march, and it's people are so kind of dismissive of it. But Pride is. I always think Pride is not for the likes of me. That it's up on a flow kind of and entertainment stuff. Pride is for. I always think about people that are watching in the crowd, people that are struggling, people that want to be part of something but maybe are holding back. It's about visibility. It's not about look at us. It's about being. It's about people that are struggling. That's what I always think about. And there are so many people still struggling. But I also am very firm believer in like labels. I think labels are very damaging as well. So it's like you can kind of like do it at your own pace and your own. You don't have to be this or that. It's like just be gentle with yourself.
Just on the labels question, and like again, so obviously transgender people, we don't have to go there if you don't want to, but like I remember at one point transgender people weren't too happy with drag queens. Have you any thoughts, or am I completely incorrect?
I've a lot of trans friends, and there's there's never any issue like that with people I know, but I think that's such a generalization, kind of sweeping comment, which I think, in fairness to trans people, that they're getting a lot of that lately, where it's like there's a lot of these sweeping comments, and it's like actually people don't really ask trans people how they're feeling or what their thoughts are. It's just like people go, this is what they think, or this is what, and I think that's that has to change, because that's like, you hear people talking about different trans issues and they don't even know a trans person. It's just really unfair. It's like and most people are open or interested, but it just, and I would never speak on behalf of someone that's their own journey, but I feel like it's it'd be interesting to just maybe hear the other side before you just make a judgment. I think we could all
100%.
we could all be a little sounder to each other.
So if you had a message for anybody who's struggling to come out, what would it be?
Go easy, take your time. I would say don't force anything. I would say just let it happen naturally for you and in your own time and on your own your own pace, because I didn't get to do it that way. However, I often think sometimes if I didn't get that, how long would it have gone, but it should be always at your own pace and on your terms.
Cool. Davina,
thank you.
You've been divine.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Interesting chat.
And best of luck with the podcast.
And it's great to see another. Thank you very much. It's great to see another side to this beautiful Mariah Carey-esque drag queen.
Listen, this is my good side.
Flirting. And off you go now to the George tonight.
Absolutely.
And,
tearing it up.
Yeah. How many dance routines have you for tonight?
Just 100 or 200.
Okay. Right. It's been a pleasure, Davina.
You.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you again very soon. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Moose on the Loose podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did, as did Davina. Please like and subscribe for more.